We just got our next big title update for College Football 25, so we're going to go over all of the big changes in this video. As usual, they added some jerseys, they changed some of the player abilities, they even added some new equipment that they added in Madden already, so that's definitely some good changes. So let's go ahead and get into it. And quick little note here, the gameplay you were watching, I recorded this last week before the actual Alabama-Tennessee game in real life. And the final score in my gameplay is 24-17 Tennessee, just like the real life game. So I basically predicted the score on accident. I felt like that was worth noting, but okay, let's get into it. So let's start with Dynasty Mode. These are the changes to Dynasty Mode. I'm not going to touch on every single little thing, but here are some of the very big ones. First, they resolved an issue preventing custom schedules from working properly. So finally, this has been addressed. It was kind of addressed in a smaller update earlier, but this is actually supposed to fix it. So now when you go to change your schedule in Dynasty Mode, you should have no problems. Everything should be working properly and you should be able to change your opponents as you wish. Next, they tweaked wear and tear again. So it says now increase the amount of wear and tear damaged body parts recover on week advance. So I don't know why they worded it like that. It sounds kind of weird, but when you advance the week in Dynasty Mode, your players should now recover more from week to week than they did before. So hopefully that wear and tear won't last as long as it did previously. I'm all for them adjusting wear and tear because I'm still having issues with it. It's like my quarterback gets hit like 3 times and he's basically knocked out of the game. And then the following week, he's still injured severely. He barely has any wear and tear left. And I've said before, I really do like wear and tear. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good feature. It just needs to be balanced properly. So good thing here, they are addressing it. Small thing here, it says when viewing a recruit in the recruiting board, you are now able to change which recruit you are looking at by going up and down on the right stick. And I'm fairly certain they were supposed to add this in a previous update. They said they did, and I don't think it worked. I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly. But now when you're looking at a recruit, it should be able to allow you to go up and down to the next recruit without going back. So that's a nice little feature, little change here for recruiting. A few bullet points here I felt like we're going over. So the first one is fixed an issue with the power lineman archetype where they would not progress pass block finesse. So if a lineman had the power lineman archetype, they were not progressing, not upgrading their pass block finesse. That is fixed now. Second bullet point, updated Bryant-Denny Stadium to be Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. As we know, that was a change in real life once Saban retired. They changed the field to Saban Field, so now that is reflected in the video game, which is pretty cool. Third bullet point, they fixed an issue where the prospect list performed a full refresh every time a recruit is targeted. I did not see that myself, but apparently some people were having issues when you targeted a recruit, your whole recruiting board would just like disappear, refresh. So thankfully that is now fixed. And then lastly, it says various new story fixes at the bottom there, which might seem like a small little detail, which it is, but it's nice for the immersion of Dynasty Mode because it's annoying when you go to the menu screen and there's a new story and it says something completely wrong, like it says the other team won when they didn't. Little things like that, so those were addressed and fixed, so hopefully the immersion now in Dynasty Mode will be a little bit better. Couple more here for Dynasty Mode. It says fixed an issue where the free practice tile would not always appear in the Dynasty Hub. I saw lots of people asking like, why is practice not in Dynasty Mode, which it is, and it's because it wasn't showing up for some people, so that should be fixed now. And then number 2, fixed an issue where you cannot super sim from the play calling screen when playing as a coordinator. So some people, if you were like an OC or a DC at a school, it wasn't allowing you to go straight to the super sim menu from the play calling screen. That's an issue that has now been fixed as well. So let's go over to the gameplay side of things. There were quite a few changes, so we're gonna try to go over all the big ones right quick. So first up, refresh the ability loadouts of players in the front end rosters. Dev note, these ability changes are based on current player performances this season and changes to their ratings. We focused on the top 25 teams in the game and their players. This will result in players like Ashton Jeanty receiving an upgrade to his abilities. So this is a big change here and a very good one in my opinion. They added a bunch of abilities and tweaked abilities to different players based on their performances in real life. Now it says it's only for the top 25 teams in the game. So if you're a fan of like UConn or UTEP or something, like your players are still not going to really be any different. But for Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, Ohio State, Georgia, all of those teams, your players will now have different abilities or upgraded abilities, different things like that. An example of this is Ryan Williams. He was given more abilities, I believe. Obviously, the Alabama wide receiver, he's been balling out. He's a true freshman, so it makes sense that they would go in there and upgrade his abilities. So next we have they reduced the frequency of pitches out of tackles missing the pitch back. Thank goodness this is addressed, because after the last update, I don't know what they did, but anytime you ran like a speed option specifically, or just anytime you were pitching the ball, if you got tackled as you were pitching the ball, the pitch went flying back like 10 yards. It was never a good pitch. Now, obviously, that is somewhat realistic. Like if you get hit as you're pitching the ball, it might not be the best pitch, but every single time it would just pitch it back like 10 yards. So this has been fixed now, thankfully. Next, they fixed the aftershock ability inappropriately triggering on blocks. Now, the aftershock ability would increase wear and tear effects to the opposing players from tackles. So like if your player has the aftershock ability and he makes a tackle, the player he tackles is going to take more wear and tear because of that aftershock ability. Now, this is definitely, I think, a good thing that they changed, because right now, like I said, the wear and tear is kind of crazy. It feels like my players get hurt so frequently, and it makes sense that the quarterbacks and the running backs are getting hurt the most because they are hit the most. And this aftershock ability might have a little bit to do with that, so good change here. They made a lot of adjustments to the alignments on defense, specifically for coverage shells. So if you were using coverage shells, there were apparently some issues with that. I didn't really notice it, but I don't think I know enough about football's X's and O's to even notice something like that. But if you were having any issues with coverage shells, definitely read this, pause it. There are some good changes here for you. They also made some adjustments to defensive coverages. As you can see here, it says added box call logic to cover 4 quarters and cover 4 palms to better cover bunch formation route combinations. This might actually hurt me a little bit because I was having a lot of success out of bunch formation when I was on offense. So this might hurt me a little bit if the defense plays this better. You can read the dev note there. But basically, this is going to help with defenders picking up the routes they are actually supposed to pick up. So it'll probably help with busted coverages and things like that. The second bullet point says fixed an issue where giving a safety on the left side of the field, the outside third left defensive hot route would assign him to play outside third on the other side of the field. So this is really only important if you use hot routes on the defensive side of the ball. But there was an issue when you gave a safety on the left side a specific hot route. He was then trying to play the outside third on the right side of the field, which obviously makes no sense because then he's having to run all the way across the field. So that should be fixed now and working properly. Okay, so next they made several adjustments to pass blocking, which is definitely a good thing because I think that's one of the biggest issues with College Football 25 is the pass blocking in this game just doesn't work half the time. Now you can see from basically all these bullet points that they all have something to do with pre-snap adjustments. So if you're on the defensive side of the ball and you're telling your D lineman to slant inside, or if you're shifting them one way or the other, that is causing issues with some of the gaps and some of the assignments for the offensive linemen. So it sounds like they addressed that somewhat. On that third bullet point, it says fixed an issue where pass block targeting lines were not appearing when the user would enter pass block adjustments. So now when you go to pass block adjustments, it should show who the offensive linemen are actually supposed to be blocking. I don't think I saw that issue, but I guess some people were having that issue. That should be fixed now as well. To me, this is probably good for user games, online games, because I think a lot of people, if they're really good, they're really sweaty, they play a lot, they know these little issues with the game. So they purposely do these things with adjustments and alignments because they know it's just a cheat code, like it's going to work every time because it's not actually how the game is supposed to operate. It's a glitch, right? So hopefully now this is fixed. If you're playing online, hopefully you aren't getting exposed with these little things again. But hopefully overall just pass blocking is better. Again, it's still like my #1 issue with the gameplay in this game. Sometimes my offensive linemen simply do not block. I think in the last smaller update, they adjusted a thing with the double teams for offensive linemen. So hopefully double teams are working better now as well. I will say, I think maybe I've noticed a little bit the offensive line working a little bit better since I started playing from that last little update. So hopefully it just keeps getting better and better. I don't typically talk about Ultimate Team, but in Ultimate Team, they included a play a friend game mode. So that is playable now. So you can just go in, use your ultimate team, play a friend with their ultimate team, which is super cool. I've seen a lot of people asking for that, like why can't we just play our friend in ultimate team? Now you can. As expected, they basically didn't update Road to Glory. I think that game mode isn't going to receive any big updates ever again. I think you're not going to see any big changes till College Football 26. They fixed a few scenario fixes and a rogue pickup basketball scenario, they said. So those things should be changed, but other than that, nothing's different about Road to Glory. They added a bunch of new NIL players, 718 NIL players to be exact. So probably a bunch of freshmen, a bunch of guys that were far down on the depth chart that EA didn't know about until they started playing this year. Now they're getting playing time. They didn't list who those players were, but definitely go check your team. If somebody was missing from your team previously, there's a good chance they are now on your team. Like I said, 718 new NIL players, which is massive. I love, we can talk about EA and how the game sucks or how the game doesn't suck, blah, blah, blah. But at least they're taking the time to add 718 new players. That's crazy. They also updated the ratings for players. They also updated the team rankings in the game. They introduced Nissan Stadium into the game, which that's an easy thing to do because it's already in Madden. That's where the Titans play. But now that's also in the game for College Football 25. And then they added a ton of new uniforms, which is another really good thing EA has been doing. So Florida State, SMU, UCF, Texas State, Ole Miss, UNLV, Illinois, Miami, Oregon State, Cal, Old Dominion, Toledo, Oregon, Texas A&M, UTSA, James Madison, Colorado, Arizona State, Stanford, Louisiana Monroe, Texas Tech, FIU, Utah, Mississippi State, Air Force, BYU, North Texas, Louisiana Tech, Minnesota, Western Kentucky, South Alabama, Rice, New Mexico State, Miami, Ohio, San Jose State, Arizona, TCU, Houston, Georgia Tech. I think that was all of them. Quite a few new uniforms in the game. They also updated pre-existing uniform pieces for SMU, Kent State, New Mexico, Washington State, Ohio State, Florida Atlantic. I just showed some of those screenshots, but definitely go check out your own team. If I just listed them, they should have some new uniforms. And last but not least, they updated Team Builder. They added Adobe Express integration, which sounds like a really good thing. The only thing is you can see down there in the smaller text, it says to utilize the tool, head to your logos page and click create with Adobe Express. Simply create an Adobe account or log in with existing account to instantly access up to 25 credits to use towards logo creation, blah, 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 blah. So it sounds like probably after those 25 credits you have to pay, I'm assuming is how that works. So, I mean, cool integration, but sucks if you have to pay for it. I don't know if that's exactly how it works. Someone can check it out and let me know. That's kind of how I'm interpreting it here. But I will say having Adobe, like having a Photoshop type thing connected to Team Builder would be so helpful, because right now Team Builder kind of sucks. And like for me personally, I create a lot of the assets I use in Team Builder in Photoshop, and then I put them into Team Builder. It'd be great if Team Builder just kind of already had something like that where you could just create logos, create designs, and then straight directly put them in Team Builder. But hopefully this means Team Builder does get better, because as I've said before, it kind of sucks. I'm happy that it's back, but the way that it currently works and how buggy it is not very useful. So I'm hoping it gets better. So that's basically it for this big title update for College Football 25. Lots of changes, lots of new things, lots of good things. I'm glad that they continue to update this game and have large improvements. I think now we're getting to the point where they'll probably have like one or two more big updates, and then after that, it's going to be looking forward to CFB 26, because this game's been out for several months now, and once we have two more updates or so, it'll be out for, half a year or so. At that point, we're looking ahead to the next game. So thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. Follow me on Instagram at BringNCAA Follow me on Twitter and TikTok at TubbyLight, and then subscribe here for more videos just like this one.